your favorite restaurant in New York?
McDonald's.
No, it's not. What's your favorite restaurant in New York?
McDonald's is one
Cut
of my
the
favorite
shit, Robby.
restaurants.
What's your favorite restaurant in New York? Hello, I'm Alison Roman, and welcome to Solicited Advice, the podcast where I get to do what I love most, give advice. Each week, I'm joined by a very special guest and several very special advice seekers as we do our best to solve all of, or at least one of, your problems. Today's guest is Robby Hoffman. You may know her from her Netflix special, Verified, which you can stream now, but she's also won Emmys. She's done writing on a show called Odd Squad, which is great. She's also the co-host of the Too Far Pod with Rachel Colley. Briefly, Robby was also an accountant, which I don't know if that makes her more or less qualified to talk about career, but that's what we're going to do today.
Allison, what's going on? 15 minutes late.
I know. It's been that way all day. But I blame my doctor who was 20 minutes late. So it fucks my whole day. So everything was a butterfly.
Are you typically like this?
Yes.
How do you explain that type of behavior?
It's not just me, it's the people around me.
So how do you explain that? So you're the only one so in my head, let's just get into it.
Yeah.
You're doing back-to-back today. Nobody else in the world is doing back-to-back but Allison.
No, we are. It's that the first back-to-back that was late pushed me into the abyss. And I won't until 2:30 have a chance to correct.
But I think there's two camps. But it's all how we grew up. Like, how did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in LA. Explains
I guess
it. I was late. Well,
that
because my parents
it.
were late. But it's like
you had traffic.
To do too much. Also, LA traffic. Yeah, I remember one time getting to school, my mother got pulled over by a cop because she was speeding because we were late for school, meaning she was going to be late for work. And she burst into tears and is like, I'm a single mom, just doing my best. It was like very Reba McEntire, single mom, blah, blah, blah.
So that explains it from LA. See that? I needed to know
that I'm from LA.
What's going on? Because a person is perpetually late, they've normalized this.
Robby,
it'll never get better for you.
When's the last time you were in LA?
I live in LA.
Oh, you live in LA?
Yeah, I've been there 5 years. You know what? I came from such an aggressive, I'm too aggressive with people being late. I need more grace.
I know, I can tell.
But if you knew the psychology, you would understand. Like my older sister Chaya is so mental with being late. First of all, when she tells you she's going to be at your house, it's 20 minutes early. Like she's always early. Okay? Yeah. Let's say you're 5 minutes late. Okay? She'd be like, if the queen invited you for dinner, would you be late? And you go, no. And she goes, you don't even know the queen. I'm your own flesh and blood.
She's
You're
like,
going to be late for me. You. Yeah. And my mother, I think we grew up so poor and so in reverence of other people's time, not counting her own. My mother, like you, my mother's also a single mother. So a lot of respect. As soon as you knew what you had to drop for me.
I didn't.
You did it effortlessly. Yeah, you did it effortlessly.
Thank you.
And my mother had 10 kids, and we would have a doctor's appointment.
She did not have 10 kids.
She did.
You're one of 10?
I'm one of 10.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You really can't be late for shit because one person's late. It's all hell.
And she was like, we were always, we were on welfare and this sort of thing. So the doctor appointment, for instance, it's like, well, it's already free. She has this guilt, whatever. We would get there literally 2 hours before. We'd be the office isn't even open. I'm like, wow, the guy's not even here. She's like, I brought a book. Did you? She's like, it's the doctor. It's like he's a person.
Right.
You're a valuable person too.
It's my first time at the doctor's. My doctor is almost always on time. Like I'm in and out in 5 to 10 minutes, but on average I buffer an hour because no doctor's ever on time.
Yeah, and we will be the same for the rest of our lives.
Not after this conversation.
I will always be early. No, you will. But now we understand each other. You're from LA and from New York. Boom.
But you live in LA and I live in New York. Isn't that beautiful?
Look at that, trading places.
I know. It's very 90s buddy comedy
How
material.
are you thinking this is going between us, Allison?
I think it's going. You're a delight.
Really? You're a delight.
No, really.
I like that you let me get into it too.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm here for. I wish more people got into it.
What's the podcast about? We take advice?
We take advice. So, Robby,
Okay.
we have live callers, and we should
I'm
probably
great
get to them
with
soon
advice.
because I bet
Let's do
they're
it.
waiting.
Let's do it.
I sort of know what the conversation's about, but today's podcast theme is vaguely centered around career and like jobs.
Oh,
So,
okay, love
people
that.
looking for advice based on, what should they do with their life professionally. But as we learn, it's almost never just about career. It's almost always about how are you raised? What's your mother like? So yeah, we can get into it.
And I'm
Let's get into it.
excellent with advice. We could not have done
I can
this.
tell you just gave
Yeah.
me advice that I didn't even ask for, but it was good advice, which is don't be late.
No, and it's not advice. You are going to be late. You can't change these things. They're fundamental to who you are. I just want to know why.
Do you not believe in therapy? Do you not believe in
I
personal
do.
growth?
I do believe in growth, but it's not necessarily growth for you not to be late. It's not the worst thing to be late. Like if my mother had valued herself a little bit more, the doctor's time isn't more valuable than hers. She can be on time. He can be on time. We can all try and get there, but it's about I can learn to have more grace. People are coming from doctors, and you could learn to try and hustle a bit.
Yeah. All right, let's take our first caller. So I thought we could talk to them like they were 11, and then when they hang up, we can get into it more.
Hi, Zora.
Hi.
How are you, Zora?
Hi.
Good.
What's the issue today?
So my question is basically like tips or something, like schools I should go to, or like tips about whatever if I do ever have a restaurant, so that things to do and not to do. So my restaurant idea is like a kids restaurant where it's like for kids, it's like all the things you would normally find on the kids menu plus like other things like real meals but like kids sized.
I love that.
I love that.
A tortellini for kids or something, a penne or something fancy but kid size. I think that's great. I think you don't have to worry about all this, Zora, right now at 11, what college you're going to go to, because you have the next 5 or so years. It'll slowly, but the fact that you're even thinking about it is amazing. Even just thinking about it, some things need to simmer. Okay, and you like restaurants, so I'm using cooking terms. But this'll simmer with you. The fact that you're thinking about it already means you're in a good place. All you have to do is really think about it. You don't have to know the answer right now. And as time goes on, you will get clues and you will get more understanding of which direction you're feeling that you want to go. So right now, you're already thinking about it. It's amazing.
I totally
And then
agree.
every year you think about it a little bit more, but you'll also know a little bit more because you'll be older a bit. You'll know what you like more. You'll know what you don't necessarily. And you'll know even if something you don't like, it could be good for you. So you'll make those decisions too. That, hey, I don't love, maybe I don't love math, but I might need to know math to go into business to open a restaurant. So there's things that you'll start making more and more grown-up decisions as you grow up. You thinking about it now, you're already doing exactly what you should be doing. There's nothing more to worry about, I think.
Yeah, you're also like really ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But if you're asking also, do you need to think about, should you go to culinary school? Should you go, what is your move in 5 years? I think Robby's exactly right. And you'll know whether or not that's something you want to pursue. But most people who open a restaurant never went to culinary school. I think if it's something that you want to do to learn some basics and get a solid foundational training, that is absolutely an elective that you should pursue. But I think that you have it so good right now, Zora. You're going to school with your friends. You're hanging out. You're having snacks.
And you're thinking about it. You're not
doing
being
light
silly.
homework. The rest of your life will sort of be determined by the person you become over the next 5 to 10 years, which sounds is that too dramatic?
No, but don't also, Zora, there's no pressure. Zora, you with us? Are you taking a light jog? Zora, there's no pressure also to be this one thing as a grown-up.
Zora heard that she has to decide who she is in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, there's by the way, grown-uphood is very long too, and you have lots of room as a grown-up to think about these things as well.
Let me ask you a question,
So it's not
Robby.
like you get to 18 and you have to be decided. Grown-uphood is long, just like childhood too. So don't worry about the pressures of making decisions for any time.
Wait,
Everything
Robby,
can take
let me
its
ask
time.
you a question. When do you think Zora decides or becomes an early or late person? Is that happening right now? Do you have any thoughts?
An early, it is happening right now. We don't know yet, but it's definitely being
But there's still
formed.
time
Habits.
to go either way. So
yeah, and you can go either way, but you can also lean into who you are. It's not, nobody is more right or wrong than the other. We just live differently.
I disagree. Actually, I think early people are right and late people are wrong. As
I
a late person,
understand
I say that.
No, and that is that you should. That's
If I
the
could
grace.
choose, if I
I'm
could go
giving you
back in
grace.
time.
I'm giving you grace by saying
that.
that it's not as wrong. I know it is.
Right.
So you're giving me the grace by taking the responsibility and accountability, which is Zora. Good luck with everything. You don't have to listen. You can listen. There's no mistakes. That's it. There's nothing. There's no pressure. There's no mistakes. You're doing great.
I agree. There are no mistakes and there are no wrong choices, especially at this age. But I think that thinking about it now, and this goes if you're 11 or if you're 40, if you're like, could my life be different or change in 5 to 10 years? The answer is yes.
Especially if you're 11.
Yeah. Or 40.
Yeah. 40,
but especially 11.
40, you know yourself more, maybe, and you might have a house and kids.
I hope to have a house at 40.
Yeah, no, literally. Zora, good luck. I think we lost her.
I think we lost Zora.
She went on a job.
So that is the second time a child has called into the show, which I always feel like I have never talked to a young person before, where I'm like, yes, hello, young person. But you did a really good job. You jumped right in and you didn't miss a beat. Do you have young people in your life?
No, I treat young people like people. When I started my career, I started writing in kids television. And obviously I have a daytime. I may or may not have won an Emmy writing an episode of kids television before you warned me how to talk to kids. Odd Squad on PBS. It's like Law and Order for kids.
Oh, that sounds right up my alley.
Yeah,
it's a really great show.
It's a really great show, and I think I started in kids, and but also I've never treated anybody other than people. You know, I remember I was writing this show for PBS, who do amazing work, and we I don't know what the storyline was, but the kids were all going somewhere, and one of the kids can't afford it. One of the kids was like, nah, it's tight at home, whatever. Mm-hmm. And PBS really didn't want to go there. They don't want to remind kids like, oh, some people have, some people don't. They want it to be copacetic. But I was really compassionate towards, you must feel crazy. I care a lot about how shame starts. And I was thinking that if you're a child and you grow up poor, as most children do, you must think it's crazy that at your house you hear about money all the time, because maybe there isn't the space to go to your room or go whatever. You might share a room. Right. You might share 2 or 3 rooms only, something like that, where you're hearing grown-up stuff, you're hearing kids stuff. It's all kind of in the mix. So I think that then to only watch television and everything is, money's not talked about and things are always fine and everybody can do everything, you must feel crazy if you go, that nobody's talking about something, and that's when you start to hide things.
Right.
That might make you feel embarrassed. We're not making judgments, we're just showing how things are. Yeah. So it's not to make a judgment on anything, it's just to be open with kids like you are open with people.
This is what's happening. This is a possibility. This is the reality.
Yeah. So when she calls in Zora, it's not to belittle her. It's not to anything. It's just, what's the issue? What would I really tell an 11-year-old or anyone? And it would be different than a 4-year-old, but I'm taking in all the factors. She's 11.
The long and short of it takeaway is also that she should do that restaurant, which I think is great. I also don't think she's going to want to do that restaurant in 12 years.
I think the restaurants exist. We have Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, I don't think that's what she's talking about. I think she's talking about a restaurant that adults would go to that have kids' food. Like the idea that if as an adult you want to order from the kids menu and I have a husband who does always want to order from the kids menu, unfortunately, but also fortunately, because that food is delicious. Like, what's wrong with a chicken tender?
Yeah.
I think chicken tenders rule. And
you know what? And we disagree. If I had more time with Zora, I personally don't want to go to a restaurant where kids are there, and she would understand that. It's not my favorite.
But I don't think the
type
kids
to...
necessarily, I don't think it's for kids.
Right,
think it's
I agree.
the kids menu for adults. So like you go to the restaurant. I mean, maybe I'm interpreting it wrong.
Yeah, I interpreted it the other way. That for kids, you can have a fancy meal. So maybe you have a quail egg thing. It's small. Or a penne.
Okay.
Yeah, you have the kids menu is just expanded to include. She's a very sophisticated. Zora, her palate has moved beyond the tenders.
Well,
she's saying,
that's what I'm saying. When
why can't we have
31? She's not going to want to hang out with 11-year-olds at her restaurant. She's going to be like, these 11-year-olds can't afford my quail eggs. But that's interesting because I'm thinking of it as the inverse. So you have the mac and cheese, the peas and carrots, the chicken tenders, the buttered noodles.
Yeah, because what you're talking about is McDonald's.
Every restaurant. That was McDonald's. You think you can get buttered noodles at McDonald's?
I'm talking. That's the way that you interpreted that it's a kids menu for grown-ups is every fast food restaurant.
That's fair, but not as if like, sure, but that's like specifically fast food. That's like the French fries, the hamburger. But even the Happy Meal, you can't get. I mean, any adult could order a Happy Meal, but that's like for kids, right? So like, imagine going. What's your favorite restaurant in New York?
McDonald's.
No, it's not. What's your favorite restaurant in New York?
McDonald's is one of my favorite restaurants.
Robby. What's your favorite restaurant in New York?
Favorite restaurants?
Or LA? Or like, where's a place you go that you like to eat food at?
I really don't know off the top of my head.
Robby doesn't go to restaurants.
No, I do, but I'm not like so crazy about
You don't
food.
have to be crazy about it. You just...
No, I know. Because you're a chef. Hold on.
No. This is not a test.
What do I like to eat? I like Xi'an Famous Noodles.
Same. Wow. Boy, do I like that place.
Okay, I really like that, though. I think it used to be better.
Yeah, I do too.
I want to be very serious. I do think taste-wise, McDonald's is the best restaurant in the world, and that's why they have so many of them.
Yeah, well, over 1 billion served or whatever that number is.
So that's why there's a reason they have so many of them.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a McDonald's person. Right. I never have been.
Well, because I grew up kosher, I could never have... It's that thing where I grew up kosher, yes. And we would see all the non-Jews walking by after school with the Happy Meal, and the Happy Meal was in a box, and it was called a Happy Meal. I said, why can't I be happy? Like, we would deserve... You know, it was in that box, that house. Like, the whole thing was amazing. And you'd get a waft of, like, a nugget. I'd be like, if I could just get a nugget. Like,
and now you're an adult, that's all you eat. Yeah.
No, I do McDonald's once a month probably now. I really treat myself if I'm... And I do get a Happy Meal lots of times.
You know what I got the other day?
It's just a snack.
I missed my flight at the airport, but it wasn't because I was late. I'll have you know. I wasn't late. The road to LAX was shut down. No, like the street was fully shut down. I couldn't get... People were walking, but I had a rental car, so it was like a fucking awful mess.
You were late.
I wasn't late. I swear I wasn't late. Everyone was
You were late because the road was closed, but you were late.
Yeah, I was late, but it wasn't my fault.
So say,
my fault.
Alison Roman was late and missed my flight.
My friend almost missed her flight, and she was 3 hours early.
Why can't you say...
Because I wasn't late. I was actually on time.
You were late.
I was on time.
So then how'd you miss the flight?
Because the street to get to LAX was shut down. The cars couldn't get through.
If you were in a court of law.
People were walking. I was late because I rented a car.
Yes, so I was late though. Now we can understand. It's the difference of manslaughter versus murder.
I should have never told you that. I should have never told you that.
No, manslaughter is I didn't mean to kill, but I still killed. I killed.
Well, you don't go to jail for as long. Anyway, I got myself 2 tacos from Jack in the Box. This is why I'm telling you the story. Because I think that that's the most delicious food on the planet. I think 2 tacos from Jack in the Box. There's nothing better in the world. And I haven't had it in so long because they don't have Jack in the Box in New York. And I was like I was crying. It was a bad morning. And I was like, you know what? I'm getting Jack in the Box tacos.
You know what? You think you told me that story to tell me Jack in the Box. But in fact, you told me that story so we could understand your definitions of tardiness, which you just
Robby, I promise you, even you would have missed your flight that morning.
I know, but I would have been late.
You would have still the facts. It was circumstantial.
Sure, it always is.
No, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you don't leave the house in time. I left the house in time.
I understand there's different reasons you could be late. Some are less responsible than others. You were responsible that morning. You gave it time, and the road was closed, so you were late to your flight.
Yeah, I was.
The
I wasn't going to make it.
fact is you were late. Now, this one might have been out of your control. You might have a valid reason or responsible.
Had I taken an Uber, I would have been on time. But because I had to return the rental car.
So you didn't give enough time.
No, I did. But the roast
No,
was. Okay,
I
we gotta
know.
move on. Next
Okay.
caller. Next caller. I gotta get out of this shame spiral. Jesus Christ.
I know, but if you can just take
This
accountability and
episode
say,
is really
hi,
taking a turn.
I was late, then we can move on.
Okay, well, maybe Eric's never been late in his life.
Let's see, Eric. Eric, how are you?
Please welcome to the show, Eric, who has may or may not have been late once in his life.
I've been late. I have definitely been late.
Yeah. Do you think that that defines you as a person? Are you like, I'm a late person, or you just have been late circumstantially?
You know, I think I've turned into like a late person. Like, oh, that's Eric.
Wow.
He's gonna be like 5 minutes late. I never want to be. I'm never like okay with like, oh, well, I can be late. It's just so like I try really hard and I'm like,
Right.
well, I'm always 5 minutes behind.
I know. That's
Yeah.
how I feel. And my heart's in the right place. I have a heart
But
of
it's
gold.
amazing that your heart, no, I think your heart, Eric, I think it's amazing that you go, I really try. How does it feel that you're good enough, that you're trying hard isn't good enough?
Wow.
So-
We're supposed to make these people feel better, Robby.
No, I understand that. You
I
know,
wanna ask
it
you a
used to
serious
make
question.
me feel bad, but now I've just accepted it as part of who I am.
I love that.
And you know,
You're
I
at the
set my alarm
acceptance.
15 minutes earlier sometimes, and I get up 15 minutes earlier, and then I just waste that 15 minutes, that extra 15 minutes, like doing, I don't even know, like drinking coffee and looking out the window.
Eric, what can we help you with today? And is it related to being late or not? Just kidding.
It's not related to
Okay.
being late. And thank you for having me on to ask
Oh
this
my gosh.
question.
Thank you for coming. We're so happy to have you.
We're so
So-
happy to have you. This is
Thank
me
you.
happy, by the way. This is as
You look
chipper as I
thrilled.
get.
You look
Yeah, I
thrilled.
am thrilled.
Hello, friends and Solicited Advice listeners. I am here to tell you about Airbnb. I'm here to remind you that while you're traveling and staying at some fabulous Airbnb in some beautiful city, that you could return the favor to somebody else traveling to your beautiful city and become a host. You know, I'm going to be on tour for about 2 weeks. And I just was like, oh, you know what? That would be nice one day to be able to completely leave my house and like somebody could stay there. And I do like to have my friends stay in my place when I'm gone, because it actually does make me feel like it's being used. Back when I was a single lady, I did Airbnb my apartment and it was a great experience. I made a little bit of extra money. It helped pay for the cost of travel, which I thought was really cool. Yeah. So I feel like you could give it a shot, and you never know. I feel like you could provide a really nice hospitality experience for somebody, and your home might just be worth more than you think. You can find out how much at airbnb.com/host. Support for today's episode comes from OneSkin. I myself have very, very sensitive skin. It is dry, it is sort of rosacea-y adjacent, and it's really reactive to a lot of skincare products. It makes matters worse, not better. But I'm also really concerned with feeling hydrated and plump and beautiful and like forever young eternally. So it's tough for me to find a product that has met all of my needs. But I like OneSkin because they are free from so many chemicals and preservatives that are found in a lot of products out there. It's really gentle on my skin. It feels hydrating. If, you know, it's never inflamed me more. It's never like made things worse. It's only made things better. I feel like it's like a gentle breeze on my face, and I really enjoy it. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. And by focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Get started today with 15% off using the code Alison at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with the code Alison. And when you purchase, they're going to say, how'd you hear about us? And then you're going to say, solicited advice, and everybody wins.
I guess I'll give you a quick rundown.
Great.
Like I went to college for like theater, and then after that I went to culinary school in New York. And then like I worked in kitchens and catering, and I got into like events and stuff. And then like I had a kid, so we moved upstate, and I did more events and catering, and then went back into kitchens and like did some private chef stuff. And then I've got like a mortgage and kids, and then the pandemic happened, and I got out of food and events and all that stuff because it was not a good time to be doing that
No.
stuff. So now I work like at an office job. And I hate it. Like I'm not built to sit behind a desk.
Boo.
Like
Yeah,
it's not
no.
like for me. So I'm taking some like graduate classes in food studies, but like I don't want to work in kitchens anymore because like you know, the schedule and like
Yeah.
the stress
The
of it,
money.
and the money, the
Or lack
not
thereof,
a lot
yeah.
of benefits. Like I need insurance most of the time. I'm really trying to find this path back into like something food related, that, you know, has like some impact and like, you know, can be of like service to people, but also meets those like life kind of things that those boxes I need to
Yeah,
like
the adult
check.
stuff.
The adult stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
How
don't,
how interested are you incorporating theater back into this? This is a
you
very
know,
interesting intersection with Robby and I both on the line.
yeah. So, you know, I've done some here where I am now, and I don't know, like for me, if it's not like good, like I don't want it's I feel like it's not
I hear
I'm
you.
putting in this time, and like the product is not, and it's not there, like the people in the community here are like great, but like there's not a ton of money for it, and there's just like not a great not like a huge audience for it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, so I've tried, I during the pandemic actually.
Permission to be frank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
See how I'm learning manners?
Robby
with
only
you,
has
Alison?
one speed and it's Frank. But
Yeah,
yes, go ahead.
Thank you. That's so true. I think, and this is coming from personal, I was an auditor for 3.5 years. I grew up, I needed to get that check job, and it was a very good job. And there's nothing I hated worse than waking up. I had a dread that Monday morning, Tuesday. I hated getting up, but I loved the money. And then the greatest luxury I have now working for myself is that I love what I do. I love waking up. I'm always early. I'm always, any show I work on, I'm first one there. I get my coffee.
Robby's
I
always
used to
early.
be late. No, I used to
Just
be
to
late
point
at
that
my
out
corporate
again.
job. I used to be late at my corporate job, come in when I come in because I really dreaded going. Now I'm excited. That said, I think that the greatest thing you could do, if you have the skills, and not everybody has a talent like cooking or whatever you have, is to work for yourself. I think it's amazing to devote most of your time to yourself. That said, and this is where Frank comes in, you have a child now.
Two.
So you don't
do
get
too.
to just...
Yeah, two. He's got two.
Yeah, okay, so you don't get to just work for yourself. Now you work for these two. And so that consideration, if you only had to support yourself, which working for myself, like if I can just make enough money for me and not and take care, understand that I myself am a dependent to myself. It's a thankless job, but I have to make sure I'm sheltered, fulfilled, fed, all the stuff. Then working for myself, having my own little small business seems like enough. I don't know if that's enough in the short term for two others.
Right.
Now you don't work for yourself. You work for two others who aren't capable to work for themselves yet. So you have to do that. So you might have to find something. First of all, you'll have to find something that is more bearable than what you're currently doing.
Right.
But if you're talking about doing good things, something's got to give. What you're saying is what everybody wants. You want money, great job, good hours, all this stuff.
Yeah.
You have to, if you want to work at the Mission Food and you want to serve people in the community, you'll get a lot of fulfillment from that. Your time will be well served, but the money might not be there. You might get great benefits. I don't know how those non-for-profits work, but there's something you have to know, what am I going to give? So that's the conundrum you're in. I don't know if there's advice there or it helps you think about it more. You don't anymore get the opportunity just to work for yourself because now you have to work for two people. So you might have to give up, whether it's some enjoyment at the job, whether it's money because the fulfillment and the job has great benefits for your kids, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Right. No,
I think I'm gonna play a bit more dream cop, if that's bad cop.
Please. Oh, was that bad cop? I'm sorry.
No, it was bad cop in a good way. It was like
Okay,
constructive cop.
okay.
Constructive cop.
Yeah.
But my practical
Yeah.
cop.
Yeah.
I'll be dream cop. She'll be practical cop. I think that I've been thinking about this a lot lately as I look to having a family and figuring out with my husband money situation and what the vibe is going to be, who's contributing what, what is our how does our personal ambition fit into having a family, right? And as people who don't yet have children, we're kind of able to just do whatever we want whenever we want for ourselves, which is I think what Robby's also getting at. I'm of two minds in that yes, you have these people to logistically take care of, and there's practical needs that should always be addressed, considered, and accounted for. I also think that having a parent who's miserable and hates their job and like works for the money is not a good example and like no way to live. You're not going to be happy. You're going to be more irritable. Your kids are going to notice it. It's like,
Terrible. I agree.
think about that all the time when it's like, would you rather be X or Y? And it's like, I think about that every time I do something for money, I do a bad job and the work isn't that good. I'm not that proud of it. I feel a little anxious about it versus something that I spend all my resources doing, putting money into that make me no money that I'm actually really creatively fulfilled by. That's all well and good because again, like I said, it's just kind of me that I'm worrying about.
Right.
But I do try to make sure that those jobs are balanced. So I take the jobs for money because
Exactly.
I know that I need it and I can kind of like justify it because I also allow myself to be creatively fulfilled and fed. So I think what
Wait,
you're-
I love that, Allison.
Yeah.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
I think a solution in that, so you're helping me, so we're pinballing, is no, find a better suited job than this. You can do better than being miserable.
Yeah.
Right.
You can do that. Okay. So be okay and invest in theater or cook. Like make sure that you're doing both a little bit more balance because the theater, yeah, you're going to do good crap. You're going to do bad crap, but you have to do it to have all of that. You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
So I think that if you had more time for some of that, now you would have to reconsider your time management skills, which don't seem terrific staring out a window and being late. So you would have to really work hard to fulfill yourself and say, what can I change about the way I'm doing something? Whether it's my time management skills that allows me to actually, if I can get my time management under, I can actually do more than I've been doing now. I can have a job that isn't misery. Mm-hmm. It's okay, and it's actually good. And it's not, and it gives me a little more time to do. Maybe I'm working on a play this month, and maybe whatever it is gives you some of that extra that you can show that you're achieving a little bit more balance. But it's going to take some tightening up, and it's going to take some. What are we going to shift around here to achieve more of a balance, like what Allison's talking about?
I think there's like this thing that we have, especially. I don't know if it's an American thing or if it's a generational thing or what, but that our job should be our everything. And if it's not, we're somehow a failure.
Yes.
But I think that most people have a job and then they have their hobbies. And then if the hobby does well enough, then it becomes their job. You know what I mean? I started my career as a line cook in a restaurant. That was my job and my hobby. I was like fortunate enough to do both, but it was definitely more of a job than a hobby. Like I was like clocking in and doing the shift and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually I was able to morph that into whatever it is that I do now, which is like 80 different things.
Right.
One might say too many things. But I don't think that and like this podcast, for example, 10 years ago, I couldn't have started a podcast, because podcasts weren't as much of a thing, but also like I hadn't yet figured out how to like take from this to fund this project. Like a lot of the things that I do, like this podcast, home movies, are funded by the other things that I do, like writing cookbooks. So like the foundational career move sort of fed the other things, but like there's a lot of pressure for people to say my job is my passion and my career defines me as a person, or my day job defines me as a person.
Sometimes some people don't have a talent or they don't have that passion, and it doesn't mean they should live life in misery.
That's also
I have a brother who works jobs, and he'll leave a job if it's not like he doesn't want to do. He likes to read and to just play basketball and kind of stick to himself. But I don't think he'll never say he's not miserable. He wants to live a life of dignity and pride where he supports himself. He's got a 1-bedroom apartment. He has his cat. He reads. He plays b-ball.
Totally.
He kind of
B-ball,
lives his
love
life. But you don't have to be miserable. You can definitely start changing that and not accepting that. And slowly but surely, you don't have to do this all at once. You do have passions. So you can look at those, and you don't have to have a pressure to monetize them. Like theater, it's not monetizable many times. So you don't have to put the pressure on it to do that. You can just simply enjoy things, and that is good enough. I have this thing where people scream about flowers. that flowers don't do anything.
Oh,
Who cares? They're so pretty.
Yeah.
They're
always
so
gotta have fresh
they're
flowers. in the
so
house,
Exactly.
people.
pretty.
This
They're
is not to make
so
money. This is
pretty.
to bring joy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like, why do they have to do anything? Like, you're wanting from flowers what flowers have nothing to want to do with.
That's
like,
such a good
flowers
analogy, actually.
look amazing, and that's all they have to do. So and they smell and whatever. So if you're wanting them to make money or you're wanting them to have a task, that's on you. So that's how I would, the theater can be your flowers.
That's actually really beautiful.
That
I
is.
love that.
That's
I was
great.
thinking about that with architecture the other day because I was looking at apartments online and how the new ones are just so functional and not beautiful. And I went to somebody's house yesterday who lives in like a gorgeous old brownstone in Bed-Stuy, and like every intricate like little inlay detail and like the wood moldings and like things that don't actually serve a purpose but bring so much joy and like actually lose money in the process.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the building more expensive. It makes all this shit. But like people valued that. They valued the like, this exists to bring me pleasure and joy.
Yeah, and increases
And I
the
talked
quality
about
of
that
your life. Yeah.
completely. I talked about that a lot in my last book in the introduction because it was a dessert cookbook and like desserts exist only for that purpose. Like you don't stay alive because you're eating dessert. It's not like people need to eat food. It's like people make dessert to make them happy. And that's kind of the only purpose they serve. And I think that like, I imagine, Robby, you got your start this way in your career, as did I. I didn't start working in food to make money. I wasn't a line cook to become rich or like have a
Well,
cook,
I do have I'm very motivated by money because I hated being poor.
Yeah.
So if this didn't make me money, I would be back at the bank.
Yeah, I agree. And I think to maybe pivot back to practical, if you're asking specifically, what can you do?
Yeah.
I think that you should also examine with regards to food, and this applies to anyone wondering the same question, like there are so many avenues in which you could support your love of this thing. Do you want to cook it? Do you want to eat it? Do you want to write about it? Do you want to talk about it? Do you want to educate on it? Do you want to work in policy? Do you want to work with the earth and do farming? Do you want to feed people? Do you want to have a personality? Like, do you want to be famous? Like, what is it that's motivating you? Is it to be useful?
so
Is it to be famous? Is it to make money? Is it to have an impact? Is it to just be happy? Because once you can narrow it down from there, the answer will lie in something much deeper.
And I think my
obvious.
practical end point is get a job that doesn't suck as much. Try and find something closer, because even 10% better is better. Definitely do that. And make theater, cooking, whatever it is, your flowers. Unless you can get a job doing that, take it. But second plan is find a job that's less sucky and gives you a little bit more
support
time.
your family, Eric.
Right.
No,
that remains
and
the top priority.
Slowly shift the balance. Maybe over time your theater gets so good it is able to shift and take over. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think it's also like a nice way to incorporate your family. And like, if you're like, I'm going to make it a goal of mine to do 3 pop-ups this year, at like a brewery I like or whatever. And is that going to make you a ton of money? No, but you're going to like bring your kids, you'll incorporate them into the event. It becomes about your family. They get to know you through that experience. My dad's a chef. Cooking's important. We like to have fun. Like that, weaves into your identity. And so when people say, like, when people think of you and who are you, what kind of vibe, it's like, Eric is a chef. They have 2 beautiful kids. They're always like doing these fun pop-ups. They do the, blah, 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 blah. They're not like Eric has a desk job.
Right. Because that other stuff feels so good.
Exactly. And that can be your identity. And I think it's to talk more about shame. If we aren't doing something cool, exciting, artistic, splashy, it becomes more like, oh, did I not succeed at the other thing? Rather than just like the base reality, which is like, it's really hard to succeed at the other thing.
Life is mostly miserable, Eric, okay?
Yeah, but like,
if you can find any joy, grab it.
Right. And don't ever sacrifice the writing the script. And don't, you know what I mean? And I give that advice to you as well. Like, don't sacrifice the thing that fulfills you, that fills your cup, that makes you happy, that brings you joy, that makes you feel more like yourself. Because the second you abandon that for a paycheck is like, it's like kind of giving up. And everyone around you is going to be able to tell. You'll be less of a bright person, and that's like not the vibe to set.
And
for your
also,
family
don't worry what people think also about you at
Right.
all.
No, I know. It's always
But
been
my
hard for me,
mother,
but
my
yes.
mother who had 10 kids and was really, really working hard her whole life. Every Monday she played at the Wheel Club, which is a country club that plays music before 1965. And she's always played. There she was, getting on the bus with her guitar slung on her back. My mother plays music to this day. She never does it. She's a musician. Whether she does it publicly or not, she likes music. So do those things. When she has chances to monetize it, and this is something she's doing, my niece's school, she does the music at the school, which is a job for her, doing music.
That's so
great.
sweet.
That's amazing. But she didn't, those little things came. She's like, they needed a music teacher. Great. I get to spend time with my niece, and I get to do music as a job. So there's ways, over time, if she didn't work on her music, she wouldn't have gotten this little job to do the music a few times a week in a paying setting, which just feels so good for her. It gives you a lot of pride to be paid for those things when they happen, but it takes doing them to even be able to one day monetize them. So don't give up on them. I think Alison is totally right there.
No, that's true. And realizing it's not necessarily an overnight thing.
No.
You put in the work little by little, and then hopefully something comes from that, from all the work you put in,
and
little by little.
You already have such a great head start. You have all this experience, which has already informed what you like and what you don't like. So
and
you
the
can,
fact
really,
that you're thinking about this,
I
think to Alison's point, your kids will see that you're valuing, that you're thinking more of life, that you're wanting more for yourself, and that want more for yourself will translate for them to want more for themselves. So I think it's also good lessons that are happening even in hard times that feel harder. I think the lessons are actually going to fuel younger people, these two people when they grow up, to want more for themselves, and that they can do it, and it'll take time and thinking about it a long time, and slow, and change is slow, but it can happen in that way.
That's beautiful. And on a personal note, as a person who also part-time lives upstate, people are so thirsty for events, they'll go to anything. I say that as a person who will go to anything. It's like, this is happening, it's a half hour away, I'm there. Is that like a way to spend a Sunday afternoon? Sign me up. You know what I mean?
Love that.
Hopefully that feels motivating as well.
That does feel motivating. This whole thing feels motivating. Thank you.
Eric,
So
you're
glad.
wonderful. Good luck.
You're wonderful.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you
appreciate
for calling in.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure. All right. Take care.
Bye, you too.
Bye.
I feel like we did a good job there. You did a really good job.
Really?
Yeah, that was really solid and like well thought out advice. I feel like we were kind of giving opposite ends of the spectrum, but
yeah, you kept
made...
sparking me, so it was good. Like I like some of the shit you said, and then I would like.
I try.
I actually think it's a good panel because he's getting. It's like as if we're sharks. I have advice. We're not sharks in that way, but we have different but good. And all together, it makes a good story for him to think about. There's lots to think about.
Wait, can I ask you, can I circle back to that? Is that a Shark Tank joke?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've seen the memes and I'm lost. But now
it's just like, hey, sharks, I have 100 million.
Is that what they say? I've never seen an episode.
Yeah, they call them sharks. It's a really good show. But they
call
them
the judges
sharks.
are the sharks, so I guess they're not judges.
They're investor and judges.
Investors.
But they have different reasoning. Nobody is wrong. Like, everybody has their own way. So it gives the presenter or the client, or in our case, the caller, more to think about. That there are more options. It's just giving choice and different ways of thinking, which is important, I think.
I think we should take the last portion together if you're game.
What's that?
It's Chef's Kiss, which is these are caller questions that are recorded. So it's nobody
Nice.
live. They tend to be like really short and sweet. We keep it moving. We answer like 5 or 6. It's like boom,
Perfect.
boom, boom.
I'm down. I'm game.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, our Chef's Kiss segment of the podcast. Chef's Kiss is a sort of hotline that you call in, leave a message, and we can sort of breeze through. These tend to be more cooking related questions, but if you have another question that feels short and sweet, please give us a call at 856-502-4816. Let's take our first caller.
Hi, Alison. I'm Camille. I'm calling from Los Angeles, California, and I am 25 years old. I'm really into food, and I have just started working in my first fine dining restaurant as a food runner, and I'm finding it kind of difficult to adapt to such a male environment. I've found that serving for the past while now, it's generally always women, and I don't know, it's just kind of hard for me to move and handle myself in this environment, and I would love some tips.
Not to be curt, but my advice is to get a new job, because if the toxic environment is that pervasive, you're not going to be able to change it. Like, I don't think that's something you can fight for. Um, I also think that like restaurant culture is very specific to the restaurant. I don't think it's an epidemic restaurant wide, because there are plenty of restaurants that are actually run very progressively and with like people in mind, that treat people like people, that like have like an agenda to move the industry forward. And there are some that just don't. And unfortunately, they tend to sometimes be the most expensive and the nicest ones. I would say try to find a different job. I would say like, thanks, but no thanks. Stay as long as you need to get out of it what you want, be it a paycheck, work experience, learn something from someone, find the nice person in the room that wants to teach you or take you under their wing, but keep your eye on the prize, which is to get out and remind yourself that it can be different. You can work at a different restaurant.
Yes, do what Alice said. If you can't get out right away, if you can't get out, you'll learn something from this. I think that getting good in situations that you're not comfortable with will only serve you for life. I think you'll be in many more ultimately in your life, hopefully not too many more, but that is life. And I think your ability to adapt will grow from this experience. If you can't leave right away and you got to stay, believe me, it'll toughen you. It'll do something for you that helps you better prepare for the next time you're in this situation.
Yeah. I didn't mean to be like, get out. I just more meant like, yeah, take what you
No, I
can,
do.
grit it out if you can for as long as you can, but also know that that is not your reality and you don't have to accept it as like the norm.
Agreed.
Yeah. Hello, friends of Solicited Advice. I'm here to let you know that a new cookbook is coming out from my friends at Kismet in Los Angeles. Well, it is always nice to go to a restaurant and be served and say like, wow, these cucumbers with labna or this rotisserie chicken or this flaky bread is just impossibly delicious. I love to be served this. I could never do this at home. It is also nice to give yourself the challenge to say, maybe I could make this at home. They've got all of their secrets to their flaky bread. There's harissa party wings, dips, potatoes, pickles, kind of something for any occasion. And if you're like, that is something that I want to do, even if I don't live in LA, you're in luck. While Kismet is one of my favorite restaurants in LA, I would be remiss to say that they're also some of my favorite people in LA. I love Sarah and Sarah. I think they are two of the most hardworking, lovely women, lovely people in food. And I would support them even if they didn't make me laugh and feed me delicious things. Available now wherever books are sold. All right, next caller.
Hi, Alison. This is Katie in England. I work a job that takes me to many remote locations. So I find that packing a lunch is such a chore, and it's not like I can pop out for a sweet green or a cava or whatever people eat. So I was just wondering if you had any ideas for like a packed lunch that is less of a chore, easy, but also kind of good for you. Okay, cool. Take care. Thanks so much. Bye.
I am not a lunch person.
Oh.
So like, do you eat lunch, Robby? Are you?
I'm only a lunch person, basically.
Wow, only eats lunch.
Well, yeah, I could feel like I don't eat breakfast. I like a coffee in the morning. And then I probably eat around 1. I could be light on dinner. I'm almost 1 or 2 meals a day. That's the kind of person I am. Okay.
I agree.
So, I don't do the whole 3 thing and whatever. And I know it's wrong or whatever. Okay. But I probably think it was created by the food industry. But anyway, what's a good lunch? I mean, I love like a bagel and tuna fish and a pickle. Is she saying that she has to make her lunch or I would go with a tuna fish sandwich.
I would too. I would do like make a batch of tuna. You can eat it as a sandwich. You can eat it with lettuce. You can eat it whatever. You can eat it on greens, chopped iceberg, arugula.
Literally.
I love a big pile of arugula with tuna and lemon and like.
You can't go wrong.
You cannot go wrong. I do love that. But that said, you can't eat that every day. So if you like map it out and be like, what can I do? I'm not going to say you should eat beans, but you should eat beans. I think like a big batch of beans that I think are very good at room temperature. Sue me. Other things like grain salads, like stuff you can batch out and be like, I'm going to like boil couscous or farro or whatever and make a dressing and put it on there and like be your own sweet green. No shade against sweet green, but we can all be our own sweet green if we just plan ahead. So like, make your seasoned chickpeas, make your tuna salad, make your little toppings.
I mean, I just have crap lunches when I work at stuff like this. Like I'll grab what's easy. I'm not going to be preparing a salad. I know myself. I'm not cooking. I'm not doing much. So I'm take fruit. Like I'll take a grapefruit. I'll take shit that's easy. I'll throw in saltine crackers.
Wow, grapefruit and saltine crackers. Are you ill?
No, I love grapefruit with a little sugar on top. That's a dessert I have pretty often.
Decadent, frankly.
Have you ever had half a grapefruit with a little sugar on top?
I have. I've had it bruleed. I've had it not bruleed. I actually
with the I have the serrated spoons.
Yeah, that reminds me of my grandmother. She did that every morning.
Well, yeah.
You and my grandma are actually not unsimilar. You guys are giving similar energy.
I'm just saying my lunches were pretty bland because I don't like to plan a lot. And I'm not like crazy about food. I'm just hungry, so I want to eat it. But when I love food, and I'm also somebody who could eat the same thing every day. If I had a tuna fish sandwich every day, I would eat it every day. I mean, I could eat the same thing every day, but there's also nothing I don't eat. So when I go out for dinner, people go, "Will you eat this?" I go, "Yeah." There's nothing.
She's easy. You're flexible.
I love to eat everything, but I also could eat the same thing every day as long as I like it. So I don't know. I think buy yourself a big box of saltines. Grab a sleeve. If you can make tuna, great. But if it's easier to just throw a tub of peanut butter in there, I get peanut butter. Doing saltines and peanut butter, delicious.
I do pretzel and peanut butter. Oh, I also do pretzel and mustard.
Grab a bag of pretzels, throw it in, throw in a Jif,
mustard.
Throw in a Jif peanut butter. Sponsored by Alison's husband. And you know, like my lunches, like they're not great, but they're sustenance, and you're home soon.
I feel like our caller cares about food more than you. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Okay. So I find that they might not find that advice satisfactory, but I do think that someone listening is going to take that advice.
A banana.
So, otherwise, think salads that are good at room temperature, nothing that needs to be reheated. I love rotisserie chicken that you make yourself or buy at the store.
Oh, yum.
Have that in a little bag. Like
that's an easy one.
Frittatas are great. Make a frittata, slice it up, put 2 slices in your
bag. Buying the chicken for the week, that's 3 or 4 lunches.
That's what I'm saying.
That is a good one. That's something I would do too. That's also for because you pull off the chicken. I love cold chicken.
Get your chicken, get your saltines, a tub of peanut butter, and Robby has got lunch. Okay, next caller.
Hi, this is Lindsay calling from Seattle. I'm a big fan of your podcast, and I have a question for you. I've started going into the office again, but when I get home from work, I'm always too tired and hungry to make dinner. What's a good after-work recipe that's both tasty and comes together quickly? Thanks.
Well, I think Indian food. If you're not I find Indian food not that hard to make. I mean, I buy a lot of it.
Oh, look at Robby over here making Indian food. It's not that hard, they say. It's fine.
Oh, is it? But maybe it's not good, but it's like rice, some buttered chicken, some peas. You have your, and naan. I buy naan frozen. I keep it in the freezer. I heat it up in the oven, 5 minutes, nothing. And it's like, I don't know. I like that type of food, but it's not for everyone to, this type of food.
It's some of my favorite food. I just find it not easy to make. I've never been taught how to make it. Yeah, I've never been. I would love to learn how to make it, but it feels complex, which is why I tend to go out for Indian. But maybe I just need to reframe. But I imagine that like most people are doing like a sheet tray situation, like chicken and potatoes on a sheet tray, and you put it in the oven, and like that's fun. And you can only do that so many times. What did I make the other day? I mean, I do things like I have stuff in the freezer that make cooking when I don't feel like cooking very, very easy. That I make. Like I made bolognese, I froze it. I made a kimchi pork stew, I froze it. I have chicken broth all the time for like a quick noodle soup. If you think ahead and like
yes. Can I tell you something I make?
Yeah, I want. Is it
that
Indian
lasts
food?
many days? No, but by the way, because Indian food, you're thinking you have to make a lot of dishes. I'm talking one butter chicken,
no.
rice,
I just
peas.
think that there's like finesse involved, and
there
it's
is
not a skill that I possess. But
no,
anyway,
and mine is not good. But something I do make is this thing called poor man's stew, which is kind of like you throw anything into a pot, but it's like I start with beef. There's like beef broth. Then I just put like onion, carrots, garlic, broccoli, potatoes, the ground beef, You get it going, and it lasts a really long time, and it's really filling and unbelievable. And paprika, and there's like, just look up poor man's stew.
It's a thing that exists, you're saying.
Yeah, it's called poor man's stew, and it's basically like, you don't have to have all the ingredients, whatever you do have, and then every time you heat that up, it's so warm and it's like, and it's really filling because it's got potatoes, carrots, it's got the meat in it, it's got the beef broth. I don't know. I have stew nights sometimes, so I make everybody in my complex stew. But it really is just this. Well, I have 2 friends who live on top of me and then a neighbor. So when I'm making stew, it's so much, and sometimes I'm on the road that I go, who wants stew? Right. And it's a big hit,
here's
but it's
what
a
you
very
should do.
simple
Freeze some
stew.
of it. Freeze some of it, and then you have stew. But I do that with like my bean stews, my lentil soups, anything like that. So I know it's not like a satisfying answer, but I will say that like for me, the annoying part of cooking when I don't feel like cooking is going to the grocery store or having to figure out how to get ingredients. So then I'm like, but I'm like, oh, I have pasta always. I have a can of beans always. I have lemons always, Parmesan always. So like there are ways to do like a quick pantry pasta, anchovies, lemon, garlic pasta. Like I
definitely do your groceries because the way I do pasta, so obviously Alison's pasta is chef's kiss, which is what this is about. Mine would be like, I have tortellini that I buy prepackaged, and I have a jar of Rouse or something, and I throw that together, and I find it delicious. But an easy meal, let's say you're like, I want pasta, I want a meat, whatever. I keep steaks in the freezer. It's 3 minutes each side with a steak, salt and pepper. You do it from frozen? Pretty good. Yeah, so if you have it from frozen, if you know the night before you're going to eat it, put it in the fridge. But if it's frozen, I put it in I keep it in the package, but I put it in a bowl of water. I'm just checking. Yeah. For 10, 15, I know it's not supposed to. But it's 3 minutes each side. And then I buy those salads that are in the bag. I toss that, and then I have a steak and salad.
Honestly, that's a great idea. Yeah, so I do that too.
That's a really quick meal. And the salad bag is like $3, which I know is cheaper if you bought everything, but it's like, it goes bad for me. I live alone, so I don't know.
You're alone and on time. Okay, let's go to the next caller.
Alison will never have me back.
No, you're back. We're moving in together. We're
literally.
Okay, next caller.
Hi, Libby here calling from Chicago. And my question is, how did mint chocolate chip erase vanilla chocolate chip? Thanks. Bye.
Robby, what's your favorite ice cream?
I really like Neapolitan, the 3.
Wow, that is such a Robby answer. I barely know you, but that is a very good
really?
Robby answer.
I really, you know what, I used to not fuck with the pink as a kid.
Yeah.
But now, my sister Chaya, she was like, you gotta try the pink. And it's like, we're fucking with all the flavors again. So I really like that one, and I really like cookies and cream. Me too. But there's too much cookies in the cookies and cream. I wish it was more vanilla.
It depends on the brand, but cookies and cream is my number 2. Mint chocolate chip is my number 1.
Oh,
it's
wow.
It's my diehard. I'm curious where this question came from because I wasn't aware that it did erase vanilla.
Same.
But I think for me, it didn't because there is a time and a place for vanilla and a time and a place for mint chocolate chip. For me, if I'm eating ice cream with dessert, like if I make a pie, a cake, a tart, whatever, and I want ice cream, it's vanilla. It's got to be vanilla.
This is religious.
Yeah,
this is the decree.
It is a law.
This is the decree.
Yes. But if I'm having ice cream on its own as a treat, which I love to do often, it's mint chip every time. And it's the not fancy one. It's the one from Baskin-Robbins. It's the one from Thrifty's, if you're lucky enough to have that in where you live. Other acceptable flavors or companies, Talenti's okay, but a little sweet.
I'm not fucking with Talenti. You're giving me that type of tub? I don't like the presentation of it. The clear tub.
The tubs are really good for leftovers and for reusing. They're good for salad dressings. If you're packing a lunch on the go, which at least one person listening is because they called and asked about it, it's great for repurposing. Right. So sorry, I like Talenti just for the containers actually, but then I look like a weird Talenti hoarder.
No, you're totally right.
But it's like the kind of thing like Tupperware where you can bring to someone's house and if you leave it there, it's fine. You're not like, oh, that's my nice Tupperware. It's like
you're not leaving a Pyrex. No, you're totally right with the vanilla ice cream. I think chocolate, this is where I'm going to say, so I'm not such a mint chocolate chip person, but I can't relate. I think I could have it. I think if you're doing chocolate chip, it's got to be the mint chocolate chip. I think if you're doing vanilla, it's got to be cookies and cream. I don't know why I make that marriage, but chocolate chip is for the mint chocolate chip, and I would say cookies is for the vanilla. That said, Alison, I don't know if you run restaurants or what's going on now, but if you could talk to the restaurant people, I think something that is so important in a restaurant, first of all, it would be an ice cream? No, it would be an instant hit. Okay, if on every dessert they had that lava cake with a scoop of, they can either do a lava cake or a hot cookie, scoop of vanilla ice cream. No matter what,
you know who would put that on their menu?
It's gonna sell. Put that
on their menu?
Zora, it's gonna sell.
Restaurant.
It's literally like it's a shoe in. Like if
I think maybe you should be Zora's first investor because it sounds like you have the same.
I would eat there. Yeah, I would eat there. No, but I also eat such crazy things. But it's like. I'm just telling you. And an ice cream that I really want to get into, but it doesn't seem to appear like how it used to be, pistachio ice cream.
It's niche.
Yeah, it's so different from pistachio to pistachio. I like that really almost nuclear green pistachio, and sometimes they're a little too light. So that is on the upcoming list.
There's a restaurant in LA called Antico Nuovo. I don't know if you've been, but it's an Italian pasta restaurant. It's phenomenal. You should go anyway. I love it there. But they had, when I went, at least this was like a year ago, but they had a pistachio ice cream on the menu that like 5 judgmental people at the table that I was dining with all agreed unanimously that it was like the best ice cream they've ever had. It was just unbelievable.
Okay.
So maybe hopefully they still have it on the menu, but it's just unreal.
I got to take Gabby. Because you know what, we really like Italian. Now you're asking our Italian restaurant. I think it's Don Tana's or something in LA.
Dan Tana's.
Yes.
Robby, how dare you besmirch the name?
Yeah, Dan Tana's is excellent. It's also a French restaurant near me that a lot of Tex that I love. But
okay. Well, is that a restaurant or is that a club? We all have been.
It's a restaurant.
It's also a club.
Is it a club? Tex?
Oh yeah. You're talking about the one on Sunset?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a club, babe. It's like
I go there
we're
for
all
dinner.
the young, like cool. I mean, it used to be anyway, but like I don't know if it still is. We'll have to look into that.
It's really good. You know, I'm half from Montreal, so seeing escargot on a menu is something that thrills me, and I love it, and I'll get it in any way.
That's actually like the one wild card food item my husband really loves because he also has a similar palate to yours, in that he would be really happy with.
I think I'm being misjudged. My palate.
You're like, I love snails.
No, there's nothing I won't eat. It's just if I'm doing my day-to-day, I have to make food. I know I'm not Alison Roman.
No,
so I keep the basics. I keep the basics so that when I go out with somebody like you, I know I'm letting you order.
That's great. And I appreciate that responsibility and I take it very seriously. But all that to say is that he also really loves escargot. And that
it's amazing.
Like we have a lot to work with there. Robby Hoffman, it was an absolute fucking joy to have you on the show.
Was
You're
it?
Delight. Yeah, you started showing up like in my periphery on like every platform and channel in person, and I just think you're so funny, and I just really adore everything it is that you do.
We've taken such a journey today. I started off very upset, insulted, offended by your tardiness, and now that I've gotten to know you and the person underneath and why we are here and how we got here, nothing but respect. I adore you, and I love that. I love to start off. I don't give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I do the opposite, where I'm distrustful, and then I get to love, and then it's more solid for me.
And how much richer is it that I've earned it now?
It's exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
Solid.
Don't give it away. Don't give it
solid.
away.
Alison Roman for life. Once you're in the good
right.
books, you're in the good books. It is what it is.
Thank you. Well, anytime I would love to break bread.
Thank you. And if you're looking for nudes, you can follow me at Robby Hoffman on Instagram.
And we are looking for those.
I have a hit podcast, the Too Far Pod. You find wherever podcasts are, and we just put out a shirt. I think there's about 70 left. So toofarpod.com for the shirt.
What's on the shirt?
It's a Too Far Podcast limited merch shirt. I don't have it in me to put out more. Whatever's there is there.
That's how I feel about merch. I'm like, every time I do anything related to merch, I'm like,
no,
don't talk to me for 8 months.
No.
Like, I don't know why it takes it out of me in the way that it does.
Everything. Robby Hoffman on Instagram, Too Far Pod, wherever you find it. Thank you, Alison.
Robby, adore you. Thank you.
Adore you.
Solicited Advice is hosted by me, Alison Roman. Our podcast is produced by Maria Robbins Somerville with the help of Elena Rodriguez Villa. Video editing by Leah Somerville. Our theme music was created by Joseph Monroe. You can watch a video version of this podcast on my YouTube channel. And for questions, sponsorship inquiries, or anything else, please visit us at AlisonERoman.com/podcast.